Ladies and gentlemen, a new snapshot for Minecraft Java Edition 1.14, the Village and Pillage update has been released. Here's 18w50a. This is another fairly meaty snapshot, and it is the last major snapshot of the year. My name is slicedlime. I'm here to take you on a comprehensive tour of all of the news and the changes in this version. Let's start with blocks and items. Some of the new village-related blocks have gotten functionalities and crafting recipes in this version. You can now craft barrel blocks from planks and wooden slabs. Barrel blocks basically act as chests. They are storage units, but with one major difference. A barrel can be opened even if there is block above it. Together with that, there is now also a barrels opened statistic. Blast furnaces can now also be crafted. Their crafting recipes: 3 smooth stone, 1 furnace, and 5 iron ingots. You can also use them now. They have a user interface. They work like furnaces, but they can only smelt ore types. But when they smelt ore types, they do it twice as fast, while also burning fuel twice as fast. That means there's just a more effective way of smelting ores. Smokers can also be crafted. They're crafted from logs and a furnace. They also work like furnaces, but they can only cook food. But they do so twice as fast, while of course burning fuel twice as fast. Note that the regular old furnace can still cook all of the items. It's just slower than the new blocks. Another change is to the bell block. Bells can now be hung from walls in addition to standing on the ground and hung from ceilings. And they also now have a right-click action that activates them. They start shaking as if you had rung the bell. Let's move on to passive mobs, because in this version there is a big change to villagers. The new villager skins have been added to the game. It's a new skin system, not just new skins. The villager skin now changes depending on which biome they spawn in, and that includes multiple spawn types, including jungle and swamp textures, although there are still no jungle and swamp villages. But if you do spawn villagers inside of a jungle or a swamp, they will get specific skins for those biomes. There's a new profession as well. It's the Mason, but it doesn't have any trades yet. The new skins show the unlock level of trades with a villager on their belt. Starts out with a stone, then moves iron, gold, emerald, and finally diamond for a fully unlocked villager. Another change to villagers is that if you cure a zombie villager, they now retain their trades. Which means that if you had a villager that got turned into a zombie villager and then you cure it again, it will retain the traits it had before. In other passive mob changes, the winner of the cat competition has now been added to the game. It's Jelly, which is Hermit Crafter Good Times with Scars cat. And with that also, if you want to get the A Complete Catalog advancement, you now also need to tame Jelly. Changes to hostile mobs. There are now captains that spawn at pillager outposts. If you kill an outpost captain, you get 1 level of bad omen. However, if you kill a pillager patrol captain, you now get a random amount of between 1 and 3 bad omen levels. There's also a change to pillager arms being positioned incorrectly when they were riding or unarmed. Pillager raid setups have been tweaked a bit too. Beasts now start at wave 2, witches at wave 4, and evokers at wave 10. And while on the subject of witches, there's a crucial change in this version. Witches act like non-hostiles now, just like spiders do in daytime. They will not attack a player unless attacked first. A single gameplay bug fix in this version. If you placed a renamed banner onto a wall, then it would lose its name. That's fixed in this version. New sounds. There is a bell sound. And there are raid horn sounds. For visual changes, there are new textures for a whole bunch of blocks. Jigsaw blocks, bedrock, cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, emerald blocks, enchanting tables, bottoms and side, and endstone, quartz ore, quartz pillar, red nether bricks, red sandstone blocks, short grass, spruce planks, and stripped jungle logs. And all types of beds have had their wood parts reworked. There are new textures for entities in this version as well. That goes for armor stands, all the boat types, zombie villagers, and witches have a new look. New item textures in this version, all type of horse armor textures have been tweaked, potatoes as well as a rabbit stew. Now let's talk about world generation, because this version contains 2 new village types in the new village system. We've gone through these before in detail for the previous types, but now we also have desert villages moved over to the system, as well as taiga villages. Let's start out with the desert villages, and here we are in a test world just like the ones I had in my previous video. A couple of things to note if you don't know how the jigsaw system works, then it's explained in a little more detail in my previous video, but suffice to say for now, a quick summary is that all of these pieces, you can see arrows pointing somewhere, that's where the system will try to jigsaw puzzle in another piece, depending on what it says inside of these data fields inside. Then it will try to puzzle in a piece of a certain type. That's the quick rundown. I've generated all of the different tiles for the village type here in this test world, and one thing to note is that the structure blocks, when they spawn in beds, those beds will pop off. So there are no beds in this. They will have beds when they spawn in normally. That goes both for these worlds and for the ones I generated last time. I don't know exactly what it is. It seems to be some form of bug with how the structure blocks work. Anyway, let's get into it. The desert-style villages have a whole bunch of street pieces. They have 2 corners. They are these small ones, so there are no large corners inside of desert villages. We have 3 different styles of crossroads, like this, with lots of different connecting structure blocks for houses. Here's another crossroad, 4-way one, with some of these terracotta blocks down here. And then the last one is a tiny little crossroad, 4-way crossroad, that will just lead into other pieces. After the crossroads, we have a different type of crossroad thing. They are called the squares. There are 2 types of them. One is this, with a little checkerboard pattern in the center and lots of connecting pieces. The other one is this. It looks kind of like a crossroad, but don't let these jigsaw pieces fool you. These 3 ones at the back are actually building entrances rather than continuations of the street. So this will create a little space with 3 houses around it. After that we have the straight pieces. There's 3 of them in total for a desert village, and you can note that these are orientated differently compared to the other ones. It doesn't matter, these jigsaw pieces will connect properly, so the orientation of this thing compared to the structure is not important. The second straight piece is similar, it just has houses on one side, and then the third straight piece is just this tiny little connection piece. The final little piece of road that we have is a turn piece. Is a very short turn like this. I still have not figured out the difference between turn and corner. Decor for the desert villages is this lamppost. That is the only thing it has. It's a sandstone block with a terracotta block and a torch. That's really all there is to it. There are no other types of decors in structures, but as with the other types of villages, terrain generator decor things can spawn as well. And for desert villages, that is cactus and hay piles. Then we also have 3 meeting points, town center things. Here's the first one. Has this little fountain thing, I guess, with the flower pot and a bell. Then there's this version with a covered up well in the center, and this a little bigger version with kind of a market-like look. Moving on from that to animal pens and farms. There are 2 styles of animal pens in desert villages. There's this one with a little watering hole and a little shelter, and this one that is just a slightly bigger version of it with a shelter across the entire thing. Desert villages have 1 large farm type, that's this thing over here. Lots of hay bales around and a little growing area there. And then 2 types of smaller farms that you can see here. Not much more to say about that. In terms of generic houses for desert villages, there are 2 medium style houses. We'll have to spectator mode through this one because we can't get in through the door. Normally when there's a jigsaw block in there, small house has a chest inside of it, but also likely a bed that has popped off. This other one is a little bigger, has 2 floors, or maybe even, like, you could say 2.5. This little separate section over here has a loot chest, and the other section has a tiny little cramped ladder-based access to the balcony. Then we have no less than 8 small house versions. We'll go through them real quick and keep in mind that there are beds that are missing from some of these house types. This one has a fancy little overhang and a green carpet inside. Next one has the door on the opposite side. Keep in mind that this does not matter, it's the orientation of the jigsaw blocks that will connect the house to the road. That is a sad little decoration for a table right there. This small house, the 4th type, has a loot chest, but basically no interior other than the bed that potentially popped off here. This one has a little fancier roof, but inside you can only find a crafting table and a checkerboard floor pattern. This one is a little bigger, but the entire house is taken up by a staircase that goes up quite a ways up to a loot chest up here and the rooftop up here. Big kind of tower-like thing. The next one is a little bit interesting. It has a pathway leading up to it and a door with a little table and stuff inside, and then an exit out to the balcony or garden area, I guess, where there is a big cactus. And the final type of small building is this one. It has these terracotta decorations on the sides and a little internal decorations here with a crafting table at the back. From that we move on to the profession specific houses. There's one type of armorer house in the desert biome. That's this one. And you can see it has a blast furnace here at the back. There's a single blacksmith type. It is this. It's classic design with furnaces out front and lava. And not much inside, although keep in mind that there might be a bed here. The butcher's shop has the little staircase up to the door and a smoker inside, and another door out the back to a little animal pen that goes around the corner like this. The next house has a little bigger staircase. It's the cartographer's house. If you go in, you're not really indoors, you're still outdoors after the first door. There's a cartography table over here and another door that leads out the back. Very small house there. The next one is the fisher hut, and that is really not a hut as such. It's a pool and some barrels, and then there's a little bit of a door here into an internal space. The desert village Fletcher's building looks like this. It has a little tower on the end of it there. If you go inside, you'll find a fletching table, of course, but also a door out here to a ladder up top, although there's nothing here. Here is a desert village library. These ones have changed quite significantly from the old style of villagers. You have a wall of bookshelves now and a little carpet and a lectern in the other end. We have a mason's house here. It has some clay-based blocks in it and a stonecutter and not much else. And then the next thing we are looking at is a shepherd's house. Has hay bales and stuff out here, and it's directly open to the back side here. And it also has 2 loom blocks inside. There's one version of a tannery for the desert style villages. You can see that this one is heightened a bit. Still, remember, this doesn't matter. The structure position doesn't matter. This is what matters. This will connect to the road. And so basically what this means is the house will be sunken into the ground a little bit. We'll see this much more in the next type of village where a lot of the things have basements. Has a cauldron inside. There are several doors in here. There are 3 doors. You can use either one of them. And then there's a staircase up to this floor where you can access the balcony out here. 2 styles of temples for the desert biome. Here's one, kind of a more traditional desert temple style thing. Praise the sun, because it has a loot chest. And the second style of a desert temple, desert village temple I should say, is this. It has a very appropriate block on the floor here with a brewing stand in the corner. The final 2 structures we're looking at here are the smithies. This is the tool smithy. Remember again, this will be sunk into the ground because of this connecting piece, so basically this has a basement. If you go up here, you will find the smithing table and a chest, and there's also the lower entrance down here, which has a staircase down into a basement. And that is why this thing is so tall, even though it won't be in an actual village when it gets spawned in. And then finally a weapon smithy. It looks a little more traditional. It has the furnaces at front, the lava here, loot chest inside, and also a grindstone in here. And those are all of the different village structures for the desert style village. Let's move over to the taiga villages and take a look at those two. And now we are in the taiga village test world. This one works just the same, so we're not going to go through it in more detail. Let's just go through them. We have 3 corner pieces for streets. Those are here. There are 2 big ones and 1 really small one. There are 6 types of crossroads. You can see these kind of T intersections, and then 4-way intersections with one a little offset there, and then 3 smaller, you could even say tiny, styles of intersections. There are 6 straight pieces. Let's just go through them real quick here. You can see some of them have houses on the side and some just have decorations. And then finally there's 1 turn piece like this. Taiga style villages also have a single lamppost. It looks like this, it's just a torch. But they also have 4 pieces of decoration that are included in the decor set. That means that for whatever there could be a lamppost, there can also be one of these 4 things. I'm not entirely sure that this water is supposed to be leaking out, but it is spreading everywhere from the structure. There's this little pile of corner or fence post, or just a little staircase thing. Those are the things that can spawn as decor for a taiga village, and then there are also a bunch of terrain features that can spawn as well. Those are a spruce tree, a pine tree, a pumpkin pile, taiga grass, or a sweet berry bush. There are 2 meeting point or town centers for the taiga village. One is this one, which is basically just a flat square with this bell in the center of it. The other one is a well-like structure like this. Let's move on to animal pens and farms. There's 1 type of animal pen, it's this one for the taiga biome village. There's 2 types of large farms. One is this one with a lower, like, sunken path through it like this, and the other one is this one where the farm itself is more of a hill. Single type of small farm, it's this one with a cobblestone and a mossy cobblestone frame. Fewer houses for the taiga style biome, and here you see what I was talking about before, where a lot of the structures actually have basements. So there are 3 types of medium house. This is actually where you'll be making your entrance normally. But there's also this lower entrance on the backside, and that has a steps down to a basement with a loot chest. And of course this is expected to be a backside. Since this is supposed to be dug into the ground, then you'll probably find dirt or even stone back here. The next type of medium house is this one. It's a little smaller, just a couple of doors into a small space with a crafting table and probably a bed that popped off here somewhere. It also has an upper floor, an exterior door that has a little more interesting inside with a loot chest. The final type of medium building is this one. It's an L-shaped building, kind of U-shaped almost. Has a loot chest inside, a couple of tables and things, and then in the backside here there's a crafting table and even a couple of bookshelves up there. Less variation for this type of village. There's 5 types of small houses. There's this one with torches out front. Has a little nice and cozy armchair over here. And then these other ones, they are very similar. This one has a table instead in the interior. The exterior looks very similar. This one has torches on the posts out front. Similar interior but with a loot chest. This small house has a little wood outcropping here with an entrance. If we go inside, you will see that it has very similar interior to one of the previous houses that we looked at. This one's a little taller. If we go inside though, it's still just as empty, but with a loot chest at least. Those are all the small types of houses for the taiga biome village. Let's get into the different types of profession-based houses. There are 2 types of armorer houses in this village style. This is one. It has this big structure with the 2 blast furnaces here and not much space for anything else. And the second one is a little unfair to even call a house. It's basically a blast furnace under a sheltered little roof section here. Those are the two armor types in taiga villages. There's one type of butcher's shop, it's this one, although the door is on the opposite side over here. So you can go in here, it has a smoker over here, and if you turn back around, you have an exit out to this little fenced-in area where there's likely going to be some animals. This tall building, the double-story building, is the cartographer house. We enter through here, we find the cartography table and a ladder up to the second floor, where there's a loot chest and a little nice table. This is the taiga version of the fishing cottage. It looks a little wet, if I may say so. This is probably the same problem that we saw before on the decorations. I'm thinking that this is likely supposed to just be in here, but it seems to have gone all over the place. This building with the two planters with flowers out front is the Fletcher's house. If we go inside, we have a loot chest, two purple tables like this, and a fletching table in the center. Pretty cramped space other than that. The next thing is a library. This is the new style of library for the taiga biome. This one only has one type, and it's very similar to another one we saw. A lectern over here, a staircase to a second floor up here with a bunch of bookshelves and a nice purple carpet. This house with the two empty buckets or something out front is the mason's house. It has a stone cutter inside of it, a little pot and not much else. Next one around the corner here is the shepherd's house. It has a raised entrance here, and you get into a bunch of looms, a checkered floor, and an exit out the back to the actual animal pen. House over here is the tannery. It has a bunch of cauldrons inside, one of these container-like things, and a loot chest at the back. One style of temple for the taiga villages. Looks pretty similar to the old temples or churches, I must say, but it has a lot more decoration on the exterior. Inside you'll find a brewing stand, a little section over here, and of course a ladder up to the second floor. However, this one has no ability to get out onto the top of the tower. The last things that we're going to look at for the taiga biome villages are the smithies. There are two weapon smithies. This is the first one with a balcony up there and two grindstones next to the door. If you go into it, it's very cramped, but it has a loot chest here, and you will see that there's actually no way to get up to the balcony. The second one is, again, unfair to call a house. It's just a slanted roof kind of thing with a grindstone out front. Final building over here is the tool smithy. Entrance is on this side. This looks very similar to the actual blacksmith we saw before. If you go through here, you'll find a smithing table over there in the corner and a loot chest right here. But that is not all. We are now in the Plains Village test world. And as you can see, there are now double copies of this. That's because some of these have changed from the previous version when I made this test world first to the current version. Like you can see, this looks very similar at a glance, but there's actually more jigsaw blocks where cats can spawn now. So this has been updated with a couple of spawn points for cats in the fountains. So I'll just quickly scan over these, and if you want to look at the details of what has changed, then you can go and download these test worlds. All of these test worlds are available at a link in the video description. Anyways, the pieces that have changed for the Plains biome villages are the fountain, the meeting points, the stables, the fishing cottage, which has been fixed to include a dirt wall in front of it. The old version had the water out front here, which meant that it could spill out. And finally, the weaponsmithy, which I haven't been able to figure out exactly what was changed with. Here's the same thing in the savanna biome. So what has changed in this one are a couple of street pieces, all of the meeting points, one of the animal pens, one of the small house pieces, the cartographer's house, and the fishing cottage. And here's the final one in the snowy villages. There are just a few changes. One is for two of the street pieces. You saw the turn there, and this crossroads section up here. In addition to that, all of the meeting points have been updated. Again, if you want to explore these in more detail, then you can download all of these worlds, all 5 of them, in a zip file linked in the video description. In addition to this, there are new loot chests for Fletcher houses that can contain emeralds, arrows, feathers, eggs, flint, and sticks. Taiga house chests have also changed, can contain sweet berries now. In tech changes behind the scene, there is a fix for throwable or projectile entity item models not being applied from the custom model data field. As I mentioned before, there's a new village texture system. It is a combining system that can combine several textures. Each texture file is accompanied by a .mc meta file, and that file controls whether the texture is considered a full or a partial texture. Full textures override the biome texture, which means that snowy or desert hats, for instance, won't show up, and partial will merge the textures together. And the villagers have a new tag that stores their biome, and that is called type inside of the villager data. And those were all of the changes for Minecraft 18w50a, the last major snapshot for this year. Do keep in mind, snapshots are less well tested, can crash your game, corrupt your world, or whatever other nastiness you could think of. And if you do open a world in a snapshot, you can never go back to playing that world in a previous release. So if you do try this version, do it on a copy of your world or on a test world. With that said, if you do want to try it, head into your Minecraft launcher, go into launch options and enable snapshots. Read the warning message, then click OK, head back to your news tab and open the drop-down box next to the play button. Here you'll now find a latest snapshot option. Select that and start the game to play the latest snapshot or pre-release version, which is currently this one, Minecraft 18w50a. And that was all from me for this time. If you found this video useful, then please help me out in return and leave a like. If you want to stay up to date with all of the latest news for Minecraft, then subscribe to my channel where I do update videos for every new release or snapshot. My name is slicedlime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.